All right. Fair again this morning. Self-love series.
Yes,
There she goes.
I like what that family therapist said about how you need to take care of yourself first.
Definitely.
And how before you start giving to everybody else. So you have to learn to be selfish, take care of yourself mentally, emotionally, and then what she said.
You have to learn to be selfish.
Yes, you have to. Because if you're not selfish, and not selfish in a bad way, like, oh, you're only just thinking about yourself, but to be able to take care of your mind, because, she said something where she said, you don't only go and see a therapist when you have problems. And, because in Nigeria, we're always saying, now, people they see therapists, they concern therapists. But those things are very essential because there's so many things that is in our subconscious that we don't know. Yeah. So many things has children that we have trauma, the trauma that we've faced when we're growing up. Yeah. Just living in this culture, just like, oh, there's nothing there, there's nothing there. But the therapist talks you through it, and you don't even realize it until you go for therapy.
And I really think that this is a time for us to begin to look at the importance of self-love. Because I've had to do a couple of things myself, I've had to put a lot of things on the table, and I've said to myself, okay, if I have been dealing with XYZ number of issues and persons in the past, is it possible for me to make them understand that the times are not so conducive now and we could do it differently?
Yes.
Yes. So that's thinking of, okay, I have to be in the good place first to be able to reach out to other people. And I guess that's my summary of self-love.
I like how the topic where she says importance of introspection. You really have to think. And guess what? Sometimes those things are not rocket science. It's just in thinking things through, in thinking things differently, and begin to just say, oh, if I talk, and I didn't see this thing like this, oh, okay, if it's like this. And then because we're all different and we come from different backgrounds, the way you see life and the way you see some things is totally different from the way I see it.
Exactly.
So that helps us in relating better.
All right, so that was really lifestyle with
life lessons now.
Life lessons.
Life lessons, yes.
Okay, the show is still today with John and Helen, and we're live from the studios Plus TV Africa here in Victoria Island, Nigeria. And we're moving on to the next segment of this show. Joining us right about now is a seasoned tech trainer and product manager with Code Cradle Limited. He's a trainer intensively who passionate about building Africa's digital infrastructure in a sustainable way. He's a beneficiary of the Tony Elumelu Entrepreneurship Program. Some time ago he joined and he got some loan, some money from them, and whose startup won the FCMB WEN Vonation program in 2018. And since then, he's just been at it, training the younger ones to be the best that they can be. Our guest has worked with over 78 schools and more than 1,000 children in Lagos, Ibadan, and Calabar. And he's finding and helping children Genesis. Sitting right here with us at this point in time is Emmanuel Omale, a coding and programming expert. Hey, that's plenty. I need some cash for all of that advertisement. Yeah,
they're grants. And startups take a lot of money.
I know
that because I have friends who are tech startup founders.
Yeah, there's a lot of work to do, when it comes to setting up the systems and structures, which obviously you need funding for, which is why beyond just going out there to make the impact, is also ensuring that you have the backing, to do that adequately. Right. Yeah.
For me.
Okay. So the topic we're discussing is raising child geniuses. First of all, I want to ask you this question, even though you're in the tech space. Is it compulsory that every child now must have a tech skill?
Okay, so the way the world is at the moment, there is hardly any space that is not enhanced with technology. What that naturally means that at some point, it is important that everyone, to an extent, pick up a tech skill. And that's why we are saying that it's important that a child, to an extent, learn a tech skill. And that's because we are looking at the labor market. We are looking at the future. Because everything that we learn today, we have to apply it in the labor market.
True.
So it's important that whatever we do, whatever we teach our kids, is in line with what is obtainable in the labor market. So if the labor market is saying that tech is important, then it's extremely important that we also introduce technology to them.
Okay. So introducing technology to them, how early must we start?
The truth is, one of the things that we have done as an organization is at every stage of, of a child, there is a way that you introduce technology to them. Even as young as 4-year-old, I've been in organizations, I've been in regions, communities, we have had to introduce technology. In fact, computer programming, to kids 4-year-old, 5 years old. So that early. Yeah, so from 4 years and above.
Years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because even now, the average child takes your phone, your tab, and they just... Yeah.
But that's play for them, We're talking about raising them so that they can also begin to help the family.
Not necessarily play, because for kids, they pick, quite a number of things while they are playing. So what we do is so it looks like play to them, but while they are doing that, they are picking up that skill. So that's supposed to set the foundation.
True.
Help them get to the point where you then now properly or adequately communicate or teach them the tech skill. But then you have already laid the foundation.
Okay.
So as a parent, how do you identify that, your child... let me not even say what I identify. Let's first of all say that it's one thing for you to identify, but can every child be a genius? Can I, so to speak, take a child that doesn't have any extraordinary gift and just turn him around and make him really smart?
Okay, the way I see it is, what is more important is, how do we get the best from a genius child? That's extremely important, because we have seen cases whereby that this child is very smart, but due to circumstances, due to maybe the current situation of that particular child, you don't get the best from that child. So one of the things that we are focused on is, how do we get the best out of a genius child, out of a smart child, which is ensuring that we put in place adequate systems and structures, that fosters that particular state of mind of that child. We have seen a child where, very smart, but because of the community, family, friends around the child somehow dumbed down. It happens. We have seen a lot of those cases. And that's largely what would happen to that. There's a possibility that happens to a lot of child if they are not in adequate environment. So the question is, what do we need to do to ensure that even if the child is not as smart, the child can get to a point where you can say this is actually a genius child. And even the ones that are smart, ensure that it is sustained.
So tell us, because you have worked with over 78 schools, you have related with children. So what are the things
that you have to do,
that parents have to do, teachers have to do, guardians? Even maybe I'm living in a place and then even though the environment has changed now,
notice, you identify someone.
So what are the things that we need to do to help these children?
Yes, so first, our educational system is not at the point where it fully supports a genius child. And that's why it's important that a lot of change has to happen to the educational system.
But there's schools for the gifted. There's schools there for gifted children, but
but the kind of system and that they have at the moment does not fully support a genius child. Does not fully support a smart child. So it's important that a couple of changes has to actually happen before we can get to that point. As simple as introducing computer programming to the school curriculum. We have done this for years. I've been in schools whereby the students, the pupils, have never seen a computer before. You now want to match them with students where they've worked with computers for years. You get a different outcome. So as simple as ensuring that in school curriculum, computer programming is introduced to the kids at that level. Because at the end of the day, what makes a child, you have a lot of influences, the family, the friends, so also the parents at home, They don't have to depend on the schools.
Yeah.
They don't have to depend on government to put all of these systems and structures in place. As little as, them also bringing in teachers, tech trainers to train their child at home, would also go a long way. Because at the end of the day, who has the most influence on a child? The parents, family, friends. When they go to school, their friends in school, their teachers in school, in church, in mosque. So those are the places that actually influence the child.
Okay.
So it is now important that we deliberately now introduce value in those places. So not just in school. At home, they spend more time at home. They are in school maybe 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., 4 p.m. 8 a.m. yes, to 3 p.m., 4 p.m. 4 p.m. they're back to the house. So before 8 a.m., they are with their siblings. What are they doing? Is it value oriented? So it's important that the parents, guardians, also go the extra mile to ensure that their child, gets tech skills.
Okay, Emmanuel, my head is like, I'm asking myself, yes, we have loads of children in schools, but we have a lot more children who are out of school. And you kind of took me there when you were talking about the importance of the home environment, in raising up children who are smart. So the ones who are not in school, the families should be aware that they have a role to play. Now I'm asking, what makes a smart child? Who is a child that is
Considered
on the way to being a genius? How do we identify that?
Okay, it still boils down to, how to identify a smart child first. And like I said earlier, it's not just about identifying, it's ensuring that it is sustained.
Is it in academics? Is it brilliance in academics, or is it
Brilliance,
local intelligence? I have,
it could be as simple as, so one of the things that we do, as Code Innovations Limited, when we want to, conduct these trainings, is we look at critical thinking first. So we have a couple of videos that we use in introducing computer programming to them. So it's not necessarily writing codes. It's also when you are faced with a problem, how do you solve it? So we teach them problem-solving skills. So while we are doing that, a few of the students are able to solve the problems
faster than
the others. So that naturally we know, okay, these are actually smart kids among
the lot.
The lot.
Okay.
So that's one way we know. So this curriculum helps us, pick the smart ones. So we know the smart ones. We know exactly that. We now know, okay, how do we now ensure that it is sustained for the smart ones? Because there's distraction also. Then the ones that are not quick to pick up things, we have infrastructure to ensure that we take them from that stage to the next stage.
Should be. Okay. My director is telling me that we have just about a few minutes left. So basically, a parent has now identified that their child is a genius.
Yeah.
Probably is attending maybe one of these private schools, or where the children are getting whatever it is. So what next? How do I begin to what next? How do I begin to narrow down on what this child is? So you have a genius, you have a child. So for example, my son is interested in everything and anything, music, arts, sciences. And you know how children are when they're growing up. One minute he wanted to be a paleontologist, people that study dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Another moment, he said now he wants to be a teacher. At some point in his life, he wanted to be a music producer. He has never even had pilot on the list. But as a parent, how do I begin to settle down and say, okay, these are the areas I think these boys should focus on?
Well, so the truth is, it's important that you allow your child more like be free as to doing all of this, moving from one, because at the end of the day, they don't even know what they want. They are just picking things based on interest, so allow them, be free to do all of that, So, but what you need to do as a parent or a guardian is to pick all of these interests, and start positioning them in a way that they are around people of value that would actually support. So if he says he likes tech, for instance, now he's into maybe artificial intelligence, he likes working with robots, so you as a parent, you can then now start looking at how to get a tech trainer or someone that knows how robots work generally, to actually then teach the child on that particular skill.
Okay.
So first you have to be able to know what is the interest of my child, then start positioning that child, in a way that it's more like supports and improves that particular skill.
Okay. Thank you. That's all we can take for
Thank you.
today. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So please do join us again. Another weekend of interesting conversations as it impacts the family. So we had talked earlier on about the Disability Act. Farah on her life lesson segment has talked about the importance of self-love and the importance of introspection, to think about it, to think through things. And now Emmanuel is here, and we talked about raising child geniuses. Helen,
you have been with us for maybe the past 3-4 weeks. We've really been talking about how we can get the best out of our children, because we see them as an integral and a very important part of the family, the development, the growth, the progress of the family. And it's very important that you carry them along, that you pay particular attention, to those children, because they're special gifts, and they play a huge role in our lives. We can also train them to begin to help us, bring more resources to the family.
True.
Especially
That's what we discussed last week.
Yes, in this season, that things are not so rosy financially for a lot of us. It's been a very interesting one for me. I've learned a lot from today's outing, and I hope you have benefited one or two things. We'll be back again, like Fumi said, same time next week, Saturday, live from the studios of Plus TV Africa. Amongma Helen Odele, it's always a pleasure.
And I'm Fumi Onajife. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Bye for now.